IFAK står för Individual First Aid Kit. Och det är ett litet sjukvårdskit som varje soldat bär med sig på sin kropp hela tiden. Det är ett kit som hjälper dem stoppa blödningar på sig själva. Som hjälper sjukvårdaren när sjukvårdaren kommer fram och försöker hjälpa dem. Det finns många olika varianter på dem. Nu ska vi titta på ett par stycken. Den första är ett ryskt IFAK som jag var med och tog ur en erövrad rysk stridsställning i Charkiv-offensiven 2022. När jag stred med 92 mekaniserade brigaden. I den här så har vi ett litet instruktionshäfte på ryska. Där man visar ungefär hur man ska sätta bandage och hur man använder läkemedlen som följer med. Det här ser ganska bra ut, men utrustningen som man får med är undermålig. Det är små första förband som knappt kan täcka större skador. Och ett enda första förband. Kvaliteten är dålig och man kan sköta om ett litet sår. Om man har större blödningar så får man en tourniquet. Den här tourniqueten var state of the art på 80-talet när Sovjet introducerade den. Men nu är det sämsta som finns på marknaden. Den är nästan omöjlig att använda på sig själv och den är svår att använda på sin kamrat. De går ofta sönder, särskilt när det är kallt, vilket ofta kan vara i Ukraina och i Ryssland. Utrustning från 80-talet som fortfarande ges ut. Med gamla instruktionslappar från tidsperioden. 0-25 grader funkar den i. Det är ofta under 0 i Ukraina när de strider. Sen har de också haft med sig ampuller med läkemedel, smärtlindring. De här ampullerna hittar man ofta använda utanför strid. Det är morfin och olika opiater som soldaterna använder som lugnande, som stressbehandling. Men även i Ukraina så kan man ha problem med att få rätt utrustning i sin IFAK.
In the third year of the war, we still have a lot of problems with equipment. Biggest problem probably is a lot of copies of good equipment which is running around because we get donations all around the world, not all volunteers responsibly taking their job, and sometimes we get tourniquets. We are just cheap copies of approved tourniquets, like copies of cat or copies of soft here. You can see usually they come from China and they are not bad because they are Chinese, but they are bad because they are really poor quality made. Like plastic here usually is just easier too soft or easier too strong, which will be just breaking when you pull it too hard. Or for example, like here, the strobe itself is just too tiny and it will just hurt patient. It will not stop the bleed. And that's a real problem because sometimes these copies look like copies, but sometimes copies look so good, so great that you cannot actually understand that it is copy until it breaks in the most appropriate moment when your patient is dying. Another problem we have in Ukraine, it's a lot of old equipment with like this. Some of them were in the storages for like decades and no one was prepared for this scale of the war, and this equipment, it's not a bad equipment, but just because it's like 50 years old, you cannot realize that it will actually work. And if it's even just simple bandage, like elastic bandage, it could be just rotten because of the age. Another thing, it's a copy like this. This is a copy of American tourniquet, which actually like work, but as a copy it's not a really good copy because again the quality of the material is worse, and it might work as another thing like a bandage but will not work as a tourniquet. We've seen it on practice. Like that's the main points I have personally about Ukrainian situation with medical storages.
That's where Quartermaster comes in. Quartermaster has sent 10,000 of these IFAKs, and they are by far the best IFAKs I have received and given out in Ukraine. My unit got these to hand out when we did medical training, so we could train Ukrainian soldiers with proper high quality equipment and then give them an IFAK so that they could use it after the training. And I did this on the front while deployed with these units, and it really made a difference. before training and before quality equipment like this, they could have a success rate with their tourniquets of 10 to 25%, but after proper training and proper equipment, it could be as high as 75-90%, and that really saved a lot of lives. But it's not just about the training, it's also about what's inside. Inside of these, Quartermaster for Ukraine has focused on stopping the bleeding. A lot of these IFAKs that we get from the West are filled with very expensive equipment, and equipment that isn't always necessary. There are things like breath control, respiratory control, but that costs a lot of money, and very many Ukrainian soldiers sadly are not very good at using them. But here we have made an efficient IFAK that gets the most lives saved with the same money. In it, we have 2 tourniquets. The tourniquets are used to stop the most severe bleedings. They shut off all of the blood to an extremity, an arm or a leg. If that is not enough, then we use hemostatic gas. The hemostatic gas you stuff into a wound. These are easy to get as copies in Ukraine, but then you get Chinese or Ukrainian copies that you cannot rely on in the field. That's a big problem. For smaller wounds, or to fix the hemostatic gas, we have trauma bandages. These are great and high quality. Much better than the old style from the 70s and 80s. They have good elastics and good pads. And when you have done all of this, you need to fix it. That's when you use an elastic bandage. Vital piece of equipment that doesn't cost a lot but makes a big difference. With all of this in an IFAK, a soldier can save his own life or a comrade's life. This is one of the most impactful products we can send to Ukraine.